Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, December 1st. That's right, we've entered the final month of the calendar year. Pretty crazy. Once again, another year flying by very fast. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith. We've got 5 NHL games to talk about on this Sunday. Looking forward to that in just a moment. First, though, huge Saturday as far as games are concerned. As we look back on what happened yesterday, back down to earth day for me from a betting. Actually, it was still I grinded out a small profit, but absolutely nothing like the last 2 days before that, Wednesday and Friday, where it was, I think, 24-6 with best bets combined. A little bit more of a leveling off yesterday. It was still a solid day, though, overall. Like I said, we got out up there with some profit. We'll take it. Rangers finally off the schneid, 4-3 win against Montreal. In the you had to have it category, that was it for the New York Rangers yesterday. Had to have it. Yeah, that was the spot. This was the team to kind of get off the schneid, and they did that. 4-3, a very spirited game. I like that they brought some vigor to their game. They brought some energy. They brought some intensity. They were in an angry mood. They played like it on the ice, hitting everything in sight. A little bit of scrums and a couple of fights as well in that Habs-Rangers game. It's almost like the Rangers needed that emotion back in their game, and they certainly got it yesterday, and they get a much-needed W, 4-3 against the Montreal Canadiens. Florida dummies Carolina, and I mean dummies them, 6-0. Kind of surprised they went to Spencer Martin on a back-to-back. I guess they just weren't confident in Yaniv Peretz, the young Latvian netminder, but it was a lighting up of Spencer Martin, especially later in the game, and the Panthers end up with the 6-0 shutout victory over the Carolina Hurricanes. Washington again wins in New Jersey. Wash, rinse, repeat, 6-5. First period over, cashes in a Washington game. Wash, rinse, repeat there. 14-1 now in the last 15 games for the Capitals. First period overs. Incredible run there. And another solid win without Alex Ovechkin. 6-5 over the Devils. Definitely turned into a game with 2 backup goalies, the way it played out. 11 goals combined. Philly snapping the undefeated run for Jim Montgomery and the Blues since he took over as head coach. Nice win for Philadelphia. They actually deserved the win. Binnington kept the minute. Binnington's why they got a point out of that game. 3-2 Flyers. Pittsburgh, wow, what's happened to them? 2 very good performances back-to-back. Boston and Calgary at home. 6-2 win last night. Not a good road trip for the Flames. They are fading a little bit. The Flames are flickering right now for the Calgary Flames. It's not been a good road trip. LA pounds Ottawa 5-2. Disappointing setback for Ottawa. 1 step forward, 2 steps back continues to be the case for them. Toronto 5-3 against Tampa last night. Good win. Tampa without Kucherov. A late scratch right before the game. Toronto took advantage. Joseph Wall outstanding in net when the Lightning did have their chances. And Matthew Nyes in his return gets one of their goals. Matthews looked solid in his return. Actually looked like he had more jump. Almost like the work he's had on his injury before returning helped him out quite a bit. And a nice 5-3 win there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Islanders shut out the Sabres 3-0. It's hard to make heads or tails of Buffalo. That's a pretty bad loss given the way the Islanders are playing. You can't even score a bloody goal. Pretty bad for Buffalo. They lose 3-0. More struggles for Nashville. They lose 3-2 in overtime to Minnesota. They have a lead, can't hold it. The Stamkos calling out his team did not pay off, at least not in a victory. They get a point, but that's all. Edmonton, nice road win against Colorado, 4-1 last night. I was very impressed with that. And then 2 shockers. Maybe not so much that Utah won, but Utah shutting out Vegas at T-Mobile Arena, 6-0, smoking them. Terrible misplay and brain fart by Samsonov for Vegas early in that game. Just gave the puck away right to Alex Kerfoot. And before he could get back in net, he put it into the empty cage. That's actually what cashed the best bet for me. First period over with Utah-Vegas yesterday. 6-0 win there. And then San Jose, Seattle, 4-2. The Sharks with back-to-back victories against Seattle. What is wrong with the Seattle Kraken? Not just to lose to San Jose twice, but to, be down big in both games against them. Well, Joey Decorda didn't have one of his better nights. Defensively, they haven't helped out their goalies. And that's a pair of look-in-the-mirror losses for the Seattle Kraken. against San Jose this weekend. And it's not going to get any easier because, Alex, they're going on the road and they're playing a lot of good teams now on this road trip, Seattle.
Yeah.
The one thing they could ill afford was to lose back-to-back games to San Jose, and now they've put themselves in a pretty tough predicament. Alex, your thoughts on what we saw from Saturday?
Yeah, we can start with that game. Like I said, to drop a home and home to Seattle to San Jose after splitting a home and home with Anaheim. This is like I said, rough treading ahead now for Seattle as they've got to go on the road for 4, come home for 4, and then back on the road for 4. So they've got a really wonky schedule, and they can't find consistency with their offense to save their lives right now. We heard all this rumbling and all the talk, and we saw all the things the last couple of years from Jessica Campbell and Dan Bylsma. Then they were preaching faster pace, faster speed, but it's just not there every night. That's the thing. They have these games where they have the talent. We know that on paper they have the talent up front to be able to score 4 goals a night. They should be able to do that, but for some reason they just can't able to string it together. And when you're losing these kind of games to the bottom teams in your division of like Anaheim, like San Jose, how are you supposed to beat the Carolinas and New York Rangers of the world? And how are you supposed to, get back afloat into the playoff race and the race in the division? You're just not going to be able to. So that's a really tough spot for them. I watched a lot of that Pittsburgh-Calgary game. That was a fun one. And I implored people to check with Patreon. We add some things. There were some things we kept off of the board, some things we added on the board. This was one that I liked, that over 6, and ended up betting that, getting that one cashing in. But one game that I stayed away from late was that St. Louis spot against Philly. We kind of talked about it. We said, we don't like Philly's goaltending, but it's just kind of a tricky spot. We figured there would be a time where they're going to lose eventually at some point with Montgomery coaching. And like I said, the game went haywire late and goes into overtime. Mishkov with that game winner in OT. So, sometimes that's a great way to, boost the bankroll, is to just sometimes be off of a game that you would have ended up losing. So, having that awareness there was a good pick on my end. And then just looking around the rest of the scores, Nashville, Minnesota, that was a very entertaining game for it being 3-2. Roman Josi would have loved to see him score a goal. He ended up getting 2 assists. Something to keep in mind, though, he is involved in literally every important play that Nashville had. Like every chance that they had on net, number 59 was somewhere involved in the play. So if you're looking at point props with Nashville, it should be Roman Josi everything right now. Goal, assists, power play points. He's the guy who's been keeping things afloat, not Marshall, not Stamkos, not the guys that you were expecting to keep things moving offensively for Nashville this year.
No question. It's very interesting to see who's scoring and who's not, as you just said right now, for the Nashville Predators. All right, let's hope we can score with some of our bets here on this Sunday slate, and we'll begin with the Vancouver Canucks and the Detroit Red Wings is the first. This one's starting in like 20 minutes, at 12:30 Eastern. Puck drop at the Pizza Box, Little Caesars Arena. Vancouver minus 130, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. So it's Vancouver or pass for me. I've made no secret that on this Vancouver road trip, I am looking to back them at every opportunity. Problem is, I don't like this price, and I don't know if I love this spot for Vancouver. Early start, 12:30 Eastern. That's 9:30 back on the West Coast. Now, obviously, they've been out east long enough that they've adjusted time-wise, but I don't love this spot. I don't love the fact that they've played in these spots, too, in Detroit, these early games, and they've not done well the last 2 times they've been in Detroit. Detroit's actually beaten them 3 straight times here at Little Caesars Arena, and I know for a fact 1, maybe 2 of them were one of these early afternoon weekend games between these teams, and Detroit's beaten them 4-3, 5-2, and 3-1 the last 3 times these teams have played one another here in Detroit. So I'm off to Vancouver today. I lean that way. I just don't want to fade them on the road. This great 9-2 record that the Vancouver Canucks have on the road this season. Not to mention Detroit's only 5-7 here at home. I don't love the way they've played defensively the last 2 games. The Pittsburgh game, I didn't love their defensive game. The Buffalo game, even though they won, I don't think there were parts of the game where their defense was very good. And the Boston game wasn't very good, but Lankinen bailed them out, quite honestly. They didn't have a great defensive game against the Bruins either, when they beat Boston. So I actually like the over 5.5 a little bit here. Last 2 meetings have gone over in Detroit between these 2 teams. I think we might get something similar, and we know what I think of Detroit. not a team I'm trusting as far as their goaltending and defense one game to the next. We have Cam Talbot in net for Detroit and Kevin Lankinen for Vancouver. And I know Lankinen's been great, but even the last couple times, we've seen him. The Boston game was great, but he did give up 3 against Buffalo when they didn't play the best, most tidiest defensive game. So I prefer over than Canucks. I lean Canucks, but just the over for me here to get the day started. Alex, what do you think here, Vancouver, Detroit?
I might jump in live with a first period over and Detroit first period puck line. But like looking at back at what you mentioned, the last 2 times they played in Detroit, those were both day games, both wins by Detroit. Last year, Vancouver had a 3-1 lead in the second period, ended up blowing that, losing 4-3 in overtime. So these have been a couple higher scoring affairs as well. So give me a little bit of the over. So first period over and a Detroit first period money line. I'm gonna play in game. But I'll grab full game over 5.5 now.
Yeah, there's Lucas Raymond and Connor Garland for sure. If you're looking for player props, one for each team going into this game, those are the 2 guys you want to be zoning in on right now, because Connor Garland, streaky score and heating up big time now for the Canucks with 4 goals in the last 5 games. He had a 2-goal effort against Buffalo on Friday. Definitely look to him. And obviously Lucas Raymond, we've been waiting for Lucas Raymond to get rolling for Detroit. He's now on a 5-game goal scoring streak, entering play this afternoon against the Vancouver Canucks. So I'm definitely, those are definitely 2 of them. Yeah, you've got, I believe, on that former team angle there, Cuban Wayne Gretzky in our chat regarding Pius Suter, who I've had as a goal prop on a couple of occasions. He used to be with Detroit many years ago. He started the career with Chicago. Then he was with Detroit before coming to Vancouver. So you do have that angle in play with Suter against his old team. So definitely a good sign right now for maybe looking toward him for a goal prop here in this one. All right, the Centennial Game is what this is being called at TD Garden. The original 6 rivals, the Montreal Canadiens taking on the Boston Bruins as the Bruins celebrate their 100-year anniversary of their franchise with this quote-unquote centennial game against Montreal. Good choice of opponent, to have this celebration. Obviously, I don't know if there's a team that the Bruins have more history against than the Montreal Canadiens. Boston minus 240, home favorites, 5.5 the total. They plan on doing a bunch of celebrations here and just, recollections and video montages and all kinds of stuff pregame to honor the 100th anniversary. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of Montreal-Boston history brought up during the ceremony before the game. One thing I am not doing is laying 240 with Boston. Not a chance. And I know this is a team that, has a winning record of 3-2 since the coaching change and Joe Sacco taking over. But you start to look at these wins, Alex, then the 3 wins they did get since the firing of Jim Montgomery. 1-0 against Utah, who've been up and down. Detroit's been up and down. They barely win 2-1. Then the Islanders, who have been awful until they beat Buffalo last night. It's not exactly a who's who of the great teams they've beaten. And then, of course, they ended up losing the other ones to Vancouver and Pittsburgh, and including a very bad loss, in my opinion, to the Penguins the other night, 2-1. Montreal, tough loss yesterday, 4-3 against the Rangers. Slight rest advantage for Boston. They played Friday night. They get to stay in Boston. Montreal played in New York yesterday, and they got to travel. The good news is it was a very early game yesterday, so it makes things a little bit better. But, I like the draw here. That's what I like most of all with Montreal and Boston. I think we've got a chance for overtime. It is worth noting overtime has gone, we've gone past regulation 2 of the last 5 meetings between these 2 teams. Bruins, they've only played once already this season to this point. Boston won that game at TD Garden 6-4. That game was close to getting to overtime, though, as it was 3-2, and then there was an insurance goal scored by Mark Kastelik, who, by the way, has done very well against Montreal this season. So someone to keep an eye on there as far as prop potentially. But like I said, looking at this game, I don't trust Boston minus 240. No way. But I'm not taking Montreal plus 200 with the Primo sighting in net. We're a little shaky when it comes to trusting Caden Primo at this point in time. It's kind of like yesterday, where if I take anything on Montreal, it's team total, over 2.5. Actually, I did take the money line yesterday. I'm even less inclined to take it today. But if I were to bet Montreal in any form, I would absolutely go team total as opposed to money line. But I like primarily the draw here in this game. this afternoon between the Habs and the Bruins. Alex, what do you think here? Montreal, Boston.
Yeah, I'm seeing plus 375 at BetMGM. I'm going to take a small sprinkle with the draw, but that's about it. And keep in note, and Jimmy Murphy tweeted this out and sent this to all of us, that this game is starting, like I said, an hour later than listed.
It's listed
When
at
the
3
game-
Eastern. That's when the ceremonies all begin. I
That's
think
when
he
the
said 4
ceremony begins.
4:30 it could be the start of the game. Yeah.
Right. So I see 4:10 because I did one book did correct it. I think FanDuel corrected. So 4:10 Eastern, 3:10 Central is going to be when the actual game time starts. So that throws things off a little bit. Now, obviously, an hour-long ceremony means they won't be standing there sitting on the bench for an hour. They're going to be in the locker rooms. I don't know how they're going to, how they have everything planned out, but that's an awfully long ceremony to have pregame. So those things kind of, mess with the flow of the early start. So nothing first period at all. Definitely would just be a sprinkle in the draw and look for anything in game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. No question. Morgan Geeky, I like for prop. I mentioned Kastelik, the success against Montreal. He's probably worth a look. On the Montreal side of the equation, I like what I've seen from Newhook. And I'm going to give Uri Slavkovsky a shot here because he finally scored a goal against Columbus. He had a point yesterday. He was mixing it up. I think he's got the chance to get going. And remember last year, he was a second-half player. He was a player that started slow and then got things going eventually. So maybe it's a buy low situation here for Uri Slavkovsky here for Montreal in this game. All right, this is another afternoon affair. Columbus and Chicago, also 3 p.m. Eastern. Columbus minus 140, road favorite, 6.5 the total here in this game. Columbus coming off the win against Calgary at home. We've talked about Columbus at home. They've been pretty solid, 8-3-1, but what they have not been is good on the road, 2-6-2. So 8 losses overall to just 2 wins on the road for this Columbus team. Good at home, tough to back them on the road, and I ain't laying a price with them on the road either. I'm just going back and looking. It can't be often that the Jackets have been a road favorite at all this season. I'm sure they've been a dog in most of their road games. Have they been a road favorite at all? I'm just going back. Oh, you know what? I see it now. They have been a road favorite twice. This tells you how untrustworthy they are as a road favorite. They've been road favorites twice this year. At San Jose, they lost that game in overtime 2-1. They were a minus 126 road favorite. At Anaheim, they were a minus 115 road favorite. They lost 4-2. 0-2 is road chalk this year, the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's definitely not what you want to see. I'm kind of talking myself into Chicago. I know someone next to me here kind of likes the Hawks in this spot, but the more I look at this, and look, we've seen Chicago at home lately beat the likes of Dallas, beat the likes of Florida on home ice lately. Now, I know they're also a team that lost to Anaheim at home 3-2 a few weeks ago. But no, I mean, you look at the last 2 home performances at United Center for a team that has talked forever about trying to play better hockey on home ice, and they haven't done shit about it until the last 2 games where they finally stepped up and beat really good teams, Florida and Dallas. So they finally are practicing what they're preaching, that we got to start winning some games and putting some W's together here at the United Center. So, yeah, for me, Chicago or pass, no question. Maybe Chicago team total over, because I still think this team offensively is on the precipice of starting to get things going a bit. They had the 6-goal outburst against Dallas, the 2 goals against Minnesota in that game, and I thought they generated quality where they could have had more than that in the loss to Minnesota the other night. You can see it's coming offensively, slowly but surely, and this is the team that you might be able to get your offense going against here in the Columbus Blue Jackets. So it's chalky, minus 145, but I did grab a little Blackhawks team total over 2.5 as well. Alex, what do you think here? Blue Jackets, Blackhawks.
Yeah, I grabbed Hawks plus 125 this morning. We were talking about it before we got on air, that this is not the sleepy 6 o'clock Sunday starts. These are the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock games you're going to start seeing actually a lot more often from the Hawks at the United Center on these Saturdays and Sundays moving forward. They've been trying to do a lot more family-friendly things with these early weekend starts, and the Hawks have responded well. They played well in these 2 o'clock starts last year compared to the 6 o'clock starts on weekends. And like I said, they've been protecting home ice well lately. So I thought, like I said, this is not a price to be laying with Columbus. Columbus is not a team that we should be trusting to lay chalk night in and night out. And it's like I said, coming off of a win, this is not a team that we can trust the string wins together. So give me the Hawks plus 120, and I also have a bargain bin play coming for this game.
All right, bargain bin coming. And like I say, there's a bunch of players that we think for Chicago, might be on the verge of a little bit of an offensive boon here, if you will. So there's probably some good options there as far as the player props on the
Good
Columbus
point
on the
from
hockey side.
Pobody's Nerfic. Pobody's
Yeah.
Nerfic in the chat saying that the Hawks have scored first in each of the last 6 games.
There you go. And it's amazing how much better of a chance you have to win games when that happens. There's no question. Yeah. And again, that stood out as soon as I saw it. And I knew right off the top of my head, I'm like, wait a minute, Columbus is a road favorite. That doesn't happen often. Let's see how many times it's happened this year. They've been a road favorite twice against teams that are really not that much better than Chicago, San Jose, and Anaheim. And they went 0-2 in those games. Columbus. As road favorites. So that's all the evidence you need, at least for me, to say, I don't trust you. Minus 140 on the road. And Merzlikins too. Like, what are we going to get? He's just all over the place. More shakiness than quality from him. And Mrazek, there's nothing to complain about. He's been actually pretty solid of late for the Blackhawks, and he gets the nod here for this one.
For once in a moment, Hawks fans can't bitch about goaltending as of right now.
No.
Well, I guess we could because we don't know what the fuck's going on with Laurent Brossoit. But other than that, we can't really bitch about goaltending.
No. And like I said, well, I thought that was really going to be some kind of signing, and maybe it still is, but it's worrisome that there's no progress, there's no update, there's no status report.
You know what I'm starting to believe? I'm starting to believe this is some trickery with Kyle Davidson. Maybe he knew he was banged up, and they signed him knowing he would rehab, and maybe he'll get some starts in, and this is a trade piece.
Yeah. It could
that was
be
the whole point the entire time.
Yep. Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be. We'll definitely have to wait and see. And if we see Laurent Brossoit anytime soon. Speaking of Laurent Brossoit, here's one of his former teams, the Winnipeg Jets, taking on the Dallas Stars. Dallas minus 145 home favorites, 6 the total here in this game. Winnipeg. I don't want to say we've been kind of prognosticating for a little bit that there's some L's coming for the Winnipeg Jets. There's a little bit of a regression starting to hit this team. It's just a question of when was it going to begin. They've now lost 3 of the last 4. Nashville 4-1. They beat Minnesota 4-1, but then they have lost back-to-back games on the road against LA and Vegas. This has been a long friggin' road trip for them. This is the 6th consecutive game on the road for the Winnipeg Jets, and they're starting to play like it and look like it right now with the way they're playing. That being said, it's the last game of a road trip. 2-3 they are so far on it. There's a big difference between 2-4 and 3-3. So from this standpoint, I like this. I think we're going to get a good effort and good performance today from Winnipeg in this game against the Dallas Stars. And Dallas, they're off the satisfying win against Colorado. That was a great spot to back Dallas in that 5-3 win against Colorado, coming off the back-to-back losses to the Hurricanes and the Blackhawks. So it was a great situation to take Colorado against Dallas after those 2 games. We'll see how this one plays out. But, Dallas minus 155 now. Here's the thing with this price. Dallas was only minus 130 to minus 135 against Colorado. They're now minus 155 against Winnipeg. Okay, I still think Winnipeg's been a little bit better. I know they've been better than Colorado this year so far. And they're certainly healthier than Colorado. So I don't think this is a great price or value with the Dallas Stars. And Jake Ottinger's projected to be in net here today for the Dallas Stars. And one thing I want to point out about Ottinger, he's given up 3 goals or more for the Dallas Stars in each of his last 2 starts. So that's something to keep in mind. Even the Colorado win, Dallas and Jake Ottinger still gave up 3 goals in that game. And if you look at the Winnipeg side of the equation, they have scored 3 or more goals in 4 of their last 6 games, and they're off a loss. So I expect them to be a little bit more urgent on the offensive side. So kind of points me in the direction of what I like in this game. And that's not Winnipeg to win, but I like Winnipeg team total over 2.5 minus 130. I like that. Even with these games, Dallas has been winning the last 2 with Ottinger in net. They've still allowed 3 goals in both of those games. And all I need is 3 goals for that Winnipeg team total. So that's the best approach to me here, is just Jets team total over 2.5 at minus 130. I do like that here in this spot. Alex, what do you think? Jets, Stars.
So there's the 2 division rivals who play each other tight. And looking back at some of the just different results over the previous meetings, this definitely feels like a game that would go to overtime. Both teams, like I said, wanting to In Winnipeg want to end the road trip getting points. Dallas, same thing. You want to get points, and you got to get points against these teams in your division. I think this is going to be one of those kind of back and forth battles. I don't want anything to do with the side. I don't even want a total here. I just want the draw. So I grabbed that. I got plus 340 earlier today.
Yeah, this definitely feels like it could be a draw game, even though it feels that way to me in spite of the fact head-to-head wise, this is not a strong draw series. Winnipeg hasn't been in overtime in a very long time, and the same thing with Dallas. But this does feel like it could be one of those games. So the draw, I did take a look at that draw, and I certainly wouldn't talk anyone out of it here.
And like you said, closing the road trip on a high note after having back-to-back losses. That means just at least getting a point. So even if you're down, if Winnipeg's down, I would definitely take a shot with them live.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well. I agree with that. I think that's definitely the prudent move there is to maybe look in that direction. No question about that. All right, great stuff. Ottawa, Anaheim, final game of this Sunday slate. We've got the Sens minus 170, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. No thanks with Ottawa at this price. This is they might win like they did at San Jose when they were laying a big number on the road, but I'm just not comfortable with Ottawa in this points in this price range on the road against anybody. Not even the Anaheim Ducks. Although I will say about the Anaheim Ducks, they are 4-3 in their last 7 games. So in the span of the last 7 games, Anaheim does have a winning record at this point in time. So we'll see how this one plays out. You've got the Senators on a back-to-back. They were in LA yesterday afternoon, last night, I should say. It's a back-to-back, but again, very little travel. It's just a bus ride down the freeway to Anaheim. So it's not a huge, arduous a back-to-back, if you will, for the Ottawa Senators. It is still a rest advantage, though, for Anaheim. They played Friday, the 2-1 loss to the LA Kings as they get really a goalied, if you will, by Portillo, who had a very, very solid debut for the LA Kings in that one. We'll see how this one plays out between these two teams. Anaheim, they were on a really hot run of first period overs in recent games, just going over the total at a very strong clip in the first period. I think I want to get back to that. I mean, I'm interested here in the over by Fecta, even though, as Ben points out in the chat, strong under series history. But when you look at Ottawa, they're starting to pop the goals in again, and the defense is still, it's hard to bet under when I'm seeing this team consistently for 8 straight games give up at least 3 goals. 8 straight games, the Ottawa Senators have given up at least 3 goals. So I'm going to go with an over by Fecta here in this one, over 1.5, over 6. It looks like we're going to see Allmark and Dostal as your goalies, but neither has been confirmed. And because of that 3-goal plus allowance by this Ottawa team to their opponent in 8 straight games, I'm also going to jump on Anaheim team total here, over 2.5 minus 120. Why not? Ottawa's given up 3 goals or more to their opponent in 8 straight games. Since the shutout win against Toronto, November the 12th, 8 straight times, Ottawa's opponent has scored at least 3 goals. So I like and I feel better about the Anaheim team total in this game than the money line. So that's my approach. Maybe I sprinkle small on the money line, but this is one of those games where we talk about this with the bigger dogs. Sometimes the team total is just the more trustworthy bet. That's exactly how I feel here. Alex, what do you think here? Ottawa, Anaheim.
I kept it simple with the first period over. That's what we've been riding with Anaheim. And even with the under history in this series, 4 of the last 7 meetings have gone over in the first period. So minus 128 available at FanDuel. I played that small.
No doubt. Their defense is still very erratic. I agree with everyone's thoughts there about that. And that's a great stat from Terry Ray Vegas, who's had everyone's had a lot of good numbers in the chat lately. I really feel like you guys collectively have stepped up your game the last handful of days, maybe with all these games and these big schedules, but they've been just dishing out just these great numbers and great stats, great trends, great angles. There's another one. You want to lay a price like this with Ottawa on the road? Well, if you're doing that, there you go. 3-12, their last 15 as road favorites. That's rough. Really bad. Wow.
Rough.
That's really, really bad. You can tell why I'm leaning Anaheim in that game, but I like the team total more for Anaheim. Again, 3 goals or more allowed by Ottawa, 8 straight games. Great show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. We don't have time to waste. We have to move with haste on a Sunday during NFL season so that we can get done before the top of the hour. shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. Just like we appreciate everyone signed up at patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. And again, perfect day to sign up. Start of the month. If you're comfortable with getting your build, first of the month every month, it's a great day to sign up. Then today, of course, goalie charts, totals charts, all our bonus content posted on the Patreon page, as well as our daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props, posted each and every day at patreon.com/Ice Guys. Again, just $10 per month, and your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping us going for a very long time to come. So make sure you sign up, patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. It's December 1st. You got about maybe between 10 to 12 days to get your orders in, to make sure you have things secured underway for your loved ones or yourself under the Christmas tree. So don't miss out. We got everything in stock right now. That's over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Great stuff. Yeah, make sure you check that out. No doubt. Get the and make sure if you want something for Christmas, in time for Christmas, don't hesitate, because the clock is ticking as far as Merry Christmas being on our doorstep. It'll be here before you know it. We're talking now less than 25 days until Christmas Day. All right, great stuff. We got our bargain bin special of the night. How about the hockey god getting it done last night? Adam Gaudette. We'll see if we've got an encore today with the bargain bin special of the night. That and best bets coming up in a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Manscaped, Power Play Sportsbook, Raise Your Game, Tailgaters Sofa, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. Again, our daily show sponsor and our live betcast sponsor as well. 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Alex, you already mentioned it. You're going right to the Windy City there, Columbus, Chicago. What do you like for your bargain bin special?
That's right, 1901 West Madison Street. We're going with Connor Bedard. Get 2 points or more in this contest. You can get that plus 360 at FanDuel. Like I said, we think the Hawks offense are on the precipice of breaking out. Well, that means that Connor Bedard is going to be involved in some fashion. So we've hit with this a couple of times. Let's see if we can hit with it again today. Plus 360 available at FanDuel. Connor Bedard, 2 points or more for the Chicago Blackhawks. My bargain bin special for Sunday afternoon.
All right, excellent stuff there. Connor Bedard over 1.5 points for Mr. Number 98, Connor Bedard for the Chicago Blackhawks against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Best bet or not best bet, bargain bin special of the night for Alex B. Smith. My bargain bin special of the night, I hate to be boring. I hate to be dull. I hate to be repetitive, but we're coming right back with the very same guy we cashed with last night. For the Ottawa Senators, because I think it honestly is my favorite bargain bin special player prop on the board once again here tonight, and still getting him at an absolutely phenomenal price, plus 400. Adam Gaudette. Now they're adjusting it finally a little bit, but not enough, considering he's on the top line, considering he has scored in 3 straight games now for the Ottawa Senators, all since he's been moved up to that top line as well. So can the hockey god strike twice? I'm hoping so. Adam Gaudette, right back to the well tonight. Ottawa Senators plus 400. That is going to be my bargain bin special of the night for Sunday. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like?
All right, we'll go right to that same game with Ottawa and Anaheim. We'll go first period over 1.5 minus 128. Anaheim has been on a hot run with these first period overs, and like you said, Sens been giving up goals left and right. So we'll go Ottawa, Anaheim. First period over 1.5 minus 128. My Sunday best bet.
All right, there we go. Ottawa, Anaheim over 1.5 first period. Best bet for Alex B. Smith for this Sunday slate. My best bet, I'm going to go with that Winnipeg team total. I really do like it. Dallas has given up, 3 goals in each of the last 2 Jake Ottinger starts. We obviously saw them give up 6 we saw them give up it was the bad third period they had against Carolina. That was with Ottinger in net. They obviously gave up the 6 with DeSmith in net. But the thing with Dallas is they're still giving up goals. And even with Ottinger in net, they've still given up, like I said, 3 goals at least in a lot of their games. And with Winnipeg off a couple losses and looking to finish the road trip strong, I could see them scoring 3. I'm not sure they win the game, but all I'm asking for is Winnipeg to get 3 goals. I think they can in this spot. Winnipeg team total over 2.5. Let me just see what you can find that at. It looks like the best price currently around minus 140. Actually, minus 130 is still out there with Winnipeg team total. Solid price. Winnipeg Jets team total over 2.5, minus 130 for my best bet for this Sunday card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And again, tomorrow we will be on noon Eastern. That is still our Monday show time. So make sure you're around tomorrow, noon Eastern. And we will be on the air at that time, the weekend start time once again, and then back to 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. And speaking of Tuesday, next Tuesday, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, final live betcast of the year, Tuesday, December 10th, 7 p.m. Eastern. DM or email me or Alex for a spot on the betcast, and we'll send you the link. Tuesday, December 10th, the final Ice Guys live betcast of 2024. Shout out one last time to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Tuesday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. One NFL best bet side, Arizona. One NFL best bet total, Tampa, Carolina over. There you go. A little NFL nugget there.
I didn't bet a single thing in the NFL today.
That's okay. Nothing wrong with that. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Monday at noon Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.